Good morning to you. It's 9 o'clock. This is Sky News Breakfast. Top stories today.
Feels amazing, and for me it's just a great way to finish my Olympic career and going to 3 Olympics, winning 3 Olympic medals.
Focusing on her mental health, the American gymnast Simone Biles withdraws from 2 more Olympic final events after consultation with medical staff. And England's Ben Stokes takes an indefinite break from cricket. Also this morning, Israel accuses Iran of being behind a drone attack on an oil tanker in which 2 people, including a Briton, were killed. Cramped, unsafe and completely inappropriate. Children's charities raise concerns about accommodation for young asylum seekers.
And after yesterday's storm, the weather is looking a little bit quieter, although still rather breezy. All the weather details coming up shortly in the programme.
Morning to you. It has been a super Saturday for Team GB's Olympians in Tokyo today. Britain's swimmers smashed the world record to win gold in the 4x100 metre mixed medley relay. The tally of 7 medals in the pool now matches a total that was last achieved back in 1908. And there was another gold medal in the first ever triathlon mixed relay. And a bronze in the women's windsurfing, and there's more medals to come. Tom Parminter has the latest.
What a race it was in the mixed relay in the Aquatic Centre for Team GB. Very exciting new discipline that has been brought in for these games, and you have 2 men, 2 women, and you have to decide who does which leg. So it changed lots of times through the course of the race who was winning, but Kathleen Dawson set off for Team GB on the backstroke. She was down because she was up against a few of the male competitors, but Adam Peaty started to make up ground in the breaststroke leg. James Guy in the butterfly had a storming 3rd leg to give Anna Hopkin a lead going into the freestyle, and she brought it home with a new world record. So delight in the swimming pool once again, another gold medal, and it's the most successful swimming performance for Team GB since the games of 1908. And mixed relay victory in the triathlon too, and what a moment this was for the 4 taking the charge to all the other nations they're up against, and they just went for it and really put in a gold medal winning performance. And in the end, Alex Yee brought it home, but Jess Learmouth, Georgia Taylor-Brown and Johnny Brownlee all get gold medals. What a moment for those 4. Brilliant performances across the board. But Johnny Brownlee, of course, someone who has never won a gold medal in the Games. His brother Alistair has won 2 previously. Johnny had won bronze in London, silver in Rio, and now has completed the set. This is what he told us, and also Georgia Taylor-Brown after their mixed relay success.
It feels amazing, and for me it's just a great way to finish my Olympic career and going to 3 Olympics, winning 3 Olympic medals, been on the start line in all of them, been very competitive, and now have a gold medal to complete the set. So it was absolutely amazing, and it was a great way to do it as part of a team as well.
I don't think I've taken it off, but I think it'll sink in when you're sat on your own in your room and you look at it, and when your tired legs sink in and you realise what you've actually accomplished. And I think when we go back home as well and see the support, because we've not seen anyone yet, but when we get to see them, I think it'll all get very emotional.
There's also a Team GB bronze medal for windsurfing. Emma Wilson from Christchurch down on the south coast in Dorset. She won a bronze medal in the windsurfing. And also today we have Dina Asher-Smith in the Olympic Stadium for the semi-finals and the final of the 100-metre women's race. What a moment that always is in any games. But she is Team GB's fastest ever woman looking for a medal. She's certainly in with a shot, and was one of the Games Maker volunteers back in London 2012, and now she is here lining up on the blocks in a semi-final and hopefully a final as well. They are the standout moments of the Games, aren't they? But when Dina Asher-Smith was a Games Maker, she was carrying the kit on Super Saturday, that middle Saturday of the Games in the London Games, and now here she is, her moment on a middle Saturday when Team GB are winning many more medals and creating many extraordinary Olympic moments and world records and creating history and all the rest of it. It's another great day out here in Tokyo for Team GB, and there are more medals in the pipeline.
Tom's loving it, can't you tell? All that means that Team GB have added 2 more golds to their medal total, along with that other bronze. So they're sitting 6th overall in the table. China leading the way, 20 gold so far. Japan is second on 17. Let's talk to three-time Olympic medalist Roger Black. Good to see you this morning, Roger.
Good morning.
I bet you wish you were out there.
Well, I'm quite happy, but back at home watching it on TV. I'd stayed up last night to watch the triathlon relay, which was a superb performance, and then woke up this morning to the news that we won another gold medal in the swimming pool with the mixed 4x100 metre relay. So 2 gold medals to wake up to. It's not bad, is it?
What are we doing right this time round?
Oh, blimey. If it were that simple, you could ask that question, what are we doing wrong in sports like rowing? And maybe my sport of athletics, which has just started, but it's going to be tough to win medals there. But when it comes to water, it's fair to say we're doing swimmingly. Something's gone right with British swimming. There's no doubt about that. They've dealt very well with the pandemic, and the same with the triathletes. I think success breeds success as well. But certain sports just get it right at the right time. So we should enjoy this moment for swimming and for triathlon. Hope we can build on that for the next Olympic Games in 3 years' time. But it's certainly a good place to be in both of those sports.
I mean, obviously you remember 2012 very clearly, when a lot of our focus was not just about what we did in the Games, but the legacy from the Games. Is part of that paying off, do you think?
I think so. I think there's no greater way to inspire young people than to win Olympic medals. And we hear in so many of the interviews of the medalists in Tokyo how they watched athletes in the past do well and thought, if they can do it, I can do it. And there's no doubt that is a factor. So the more medals we win, the more coverage certain sports get, the more young people who are watching on television back here in Britain will get inspired and think, I want to try that sport, whether it's triathlon, whether it's trampolining, whether it's diving, whether it's BMXing. We'll see a pickup and the talent will come through. But without that dream of standing on the Olympic rostrum, it has to start with that dream and then a degree of belief. But then you also need to have the support and the structure around you in the country to allow you to fulfill your talent. And that is the challenge that many sports have. But clearly, swimming is doing it right, triathlon is doing it right. But it starts with that dream. And if you don't have that dream, then the talent that's out there just isn't going to try the sport. So this is why the Olympics is so important. This is why 2012 was so important, because it has created the inspiration and the dream for many of the medalists who we're seeing delivering in Tokyo at the moment.
Talking about 2012 and our favourite games maker at 2012, Dina Asher-Smith. I mean, heck, we loved the games makers back then at the time, didn't we? But to see her go from what she did in 2012, helping athletes, to now being in this incredible position. I mean, have you got high hopes for today?
I've got hopes for today, but I think it would be unfair to say high hopes on Dina. I think she's had an enormous amount of attention, but the unfortunate thing with Dina is that she is in an event, the women's 100 metres, that the other athletes in the world who maybe the British public don't hear about that much until we get to the Olympics are running incredibly quickly. 2 Jamaicans in particular, some Americans and other athletes as well. This is not going to be easy for Dina to make the final, which I think she will do, but to win a medal. It's going to be tough. But that image of her standing as a games maker behind the blocks, handing out the kit to the athletes, and now, as a world champion in the 200 metres and the sort of poster girl of British athletics and going into this Olympic Games, there's a lot of pressure on her, but she can deal with the pressure. She is a competitive athlete. She is somebody who can raise a game at the championships. And we're going to find out very shortly, because the semi-final is where you really find out. The semi-final takes place in a couple of hours. And if she gets through to that final, in an Olympic final, anything can happen. And she may not go in as the fastest, but she will be fighting for medals if she makes that final. But it isn't going to be easy for her. And for me personally, if she wins medal in the 100 metres, I think that will be a huge achievement.
You talk about the drive to get on that rostrum. You've stood there 3 times.
Yeah.
What is it like?
Well, they've got a photo behind me. It's a wonderful feeling, because you are very aware as an athlete that the Olympic Games is everything. That ultimately, when you look back over your career, it will be, how did you do at the Olympic Games? And to win an individual medal for me in the 400 metres, silver behind the great Michael Johnson, was the ultimate in my career. It was the ultimate feeling. And of course, you have that medal for the rest of your lives. It's a piece of metal that goes with you and is part of you. And that's why medals are so important. It's you have that forever. So yeah, of course, it is the pinnacle for any, certainly in my sport of athletics, in swimming, and in triathlon and some events. Not in all sports, but in most sports. And that's why when we watch the Olympics, you realise that this really matters. This is the most important thing for these athletes. I don't think sport is particularly interesting when it doesn't matter, but you know at the Olympic Games it matters, which is why it's so great to watch. So look, standing on the Olympic rostrum for me, age 30 towards the end of my career was my greatest achievement. I won medals in relays, which was amazing as well. But to have that Olympic silver medal for me, it is everything, and it allowed me to move on with my life.
Roger, it's really great to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, in the world of elite sport, he's one of the UK's most high-profile sportsmen, the England star all-rounder Ben Stokes. But he's confirmed he's taking an indefinite period of leave from cricket to prioritise his mental well-being. It is a major blow to his team's chances of beating India in their 5-test series, and it follows similar decisions from the US gymnast Simone Biles at the Olympics and the tennis player Naomi Osaka at the French Open. Inzamam Rashid reports on how athletes are now putting their well-being before their sporting careers.
It was just 3 weeks ago that England turned to Ben Stokes in a crisis. In their hour of need, there was no doubt he would accept captaining his country, despite not being at full fitness. Stokes is one of the world's most exciting and talented cricketers.
Down.
But the pressures of playing in a pandemic have proven too much. The England Cricket Board said the all-rounder would take an indefinite break from the game with immediate effect. Time to rest a finger injury, but also prioritise his mental health.
He is a fabulous cricketer. He's one of the best in the world at the moment. From my side, I hope he's okay. He obviously lost his dad. There's a lot of things that have happened to Ben Stokes in the last couple of years.
For the vast majority of the last year, Ben Stokes has been away from home, living in biosecure environments with England's test and limited over squads.
I've been in a few bubbles myself, so I can understand that, it is particularly tough for the cricketers right now. And, I wish Ben well, because, at this time you just need to be at home, you need to be with your family, and you probably need to be away from cricket.
England's director of men's cricket said the board fully supports his decision. Ben has shown tremendous courage to open up about his feelings and well-being. Our primary focus has always been and will continue to be the mental health and welfare of all our people. Spending significant amounts of time away from family with minimal freedoms is extremely challenging. The cumulative effect of operating almost continuously in these environments over the last 16 months has had a major impact on everyone's well-being. His announcement follows the withdrawals of global stars Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles from competitions this year.
Due to the fact that they've been together in bubbles, due to the significant restrictions in place around what is essentially their workspace, there has certainly been an increased amount of pressure on them, and that undoubtedly affects their mental health and their ability to go out and do what they do on the field of play.
This is the latest stunning development in Stokes' career, one full of emotional ups and downs. From the depths of being arrested for his part in a brawl 4 years ago to the extraordinary highs of a World Cup victory in 2019. England bosses say they will give Stokes as long as he needs to recover. But it's clear the team will miss a key player suffering through difficult times. Inzamam Rashid, Sky News.
The government says it's urgently trying to establish the facts around a drone attack on an oil tanker in the Arabian Sea in which 2 people were killed. The vessel is operated by a London-based company which is owned by an Israeli shipping magnate, and Israel's foreign minister has blamed Iran, accusing it of terrorism. Deborah Haynes reports.
The Mercer Street tanker in calmer waters before it was attacked by a suspected suicide drone in the Arabian Sea. The emergency prompted US forces from an aircraft carrier in the region to respond. Bomb disposal experts among the team sent to help the vessel, which has links to Israel. The likely drone killed a British security guard and a Romanian crew member when it struck.
This is a sophisticated attack. It's a sophisticated piece of equipment. It's not a handheld drone bought in the shops. This is, gusting military-style hardware, I would suggest, given the ranges involved.
In a statement, the Israeli foreign minister blamed Iran, saying, "The world must not be silent in the face of Iranian terrorism that also harms freedom of shipping." Tehran has been accused of previous tanker attacks like this one in 2019. It's denied the allegations, but they're part of a series of covert hostilities, pitching Iran against the UK, Israel and other allies. The Mercer Street tanker, which is managed by an Israeli-owned UK company, was travelling from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. It was headed for the port of Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. But the vessel was attacked on Thursday in the Arabian Sea off the Omani coast. The UK Foreign Secretary is being kept updated on events, and an investigation is underway.
It's important that Britain, with its connections to Oman, its own security interests, its strategic interests in the Middle East, takes a lead on how we move forward on this. The wider discussions of what is your strategy to do with Iran, and then separate the more operational challenge of actually keeping international shipping safe. These are the things that this government now must consider and work with our allies in getting solutions for.
With tensions in the region already high, the latest spark could yet ignite a wider crisis. Deborah Haynes, Sky News.
2 women have been seriously injured after a tree fell on them at an outdoor party in Suffolk. Police say it happened yesterday evening in Ubberston. Both of the women are in their 20s. One has spine and head injuries. The other has pelvic and arm wounds. Parts of southern England have experienced winds of almost 70 miles an hour. Police in Australia have cordoned off downtown Sydney to prevent an anti-lockdown protest. The city and its surrounding areas have been living under weeks of strict lockdown, which is due to last until the end of August. About 1,000 officers were deployed. Police have also banned taxi companies from driving protesters to the event. Charities and emergency services always urge people to take extra care in open water, but at least 31 people have drowned in the UK during the recent hot weather. Becky Cottrell has spoken to one family who lost their teenage son. They're now campaigning for more life-saving equipment.
Sam Haycock was saving up to buy a moped. He wanted to be more independent when he started college. When school was out in May, Sam went swimming with friends at a local reservoir.
No fear, didn't see the danger, and despite not being able to swim, he jumped in.
The cold water hit Sam and he went into shock, disappearing underneath the surface.
Horrible day, waiting for news. And when I found it hard to believe when that news came through. Still do now. Still can't believe it.
Simon doesn't know if he'll ever come to terms with his son's death, but he's finding strength in fundraising. He wants more flotation devices near open water to give others a chance he says Sam never had.
There was a ring within reach, but it was that, the trees were that overgrown, it was hidden, and it weren't in view of the lads that were with him.
Swimming in reservoirs like this can be fatal, even for strong swimmers. And when people need help, it's not always on hand.
What's in this box can save lives. You can throw the line out to someone who's drowning and try to pull them in. But people are vandalising and even stealing equipment and potentially ruining someone's chance of survival.
It's devastating for the emergency workers who are just trying to keep people alive. But to them, it's not surprising. They regularly experience hostility, even violence.
I think stone throwing has been the sort of extreme of what we've faced over the last few weeks, but it is that sort of not wanting to listen, not engaging, and we are there purely just to try and make them safe.
And the best way to stay safe? Don't go for a swim if there are warnings. The number of people drowning spiked during the recent heat wave, but trying to cool off in open water is extremely dangerous. Sam's family hope his death and their fight will make people think twice and save lives. Becky Cottrell, Sky News, Rotherham.
The Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul actor Bob Odenkirk has spoken in public for the first time since collapsing on set on Tuesday. He plays the title character Saul Goodman. He said he had a small heart attack, but thanked his fans for their support, and he's vowed to return to work soon. 4 people have died, more than 50 hospitalised after a string of wildfires in southern Turkey. Fire crews continue to fight blazes in 14 locations across the country that have burned down homes and forced people to evacuate villages and beach resorts. Now, to cheer you up a little bbit this morning, have a look at this. It's a bear cub being nursed back to health in California after being rescued from a wildfire. You can see it's had to have its paws bandaged, poor little thing. Officials at the Lake Tahoe Wildlife Centre say the cub's about 6 months old. They've called him Tamarack. The fire started earlier this month. It's burned through nearly 70,000 acres of land at the border between California and Nevada. But thankfully, Tamarack does seem to be recovering. Having a nice time doing it too, hopefully. Fingers crossed. OK, let's see what the weather's doing for you. Today is Joe.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Hello there, good morning to you. Well, it's a bit of a different day from yesterday when, of course, we had Storm Avert, which brought very strong winds for the time of year and also rain and showers. Now, that's disappeared off into the North Sea and will head off towards Denmark today. And that's left us with this rather showery legacy. It's a cool legacy, too, with the wind direction turning into the north, and temperatures really are quite disappointing for the time of year anyway. So starting off this morning, Scotland, parts of Scotland, temperatures in single figures, rather cloudy everywhere, pockets of rain here and there, and we will find the clouds thinning and breaking in some parts to give some bright or sunny spells. But where that happens and temperatures start to rise, we'll find showers breaking out. And those, very like those we've seen recently, are likely to be torrential in places with thunder, maybe some lightning as well. Now, those heavy showers most likely through central, southern, southeastern areas. Temperatures there up to around 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. But further north, those values just in the mid to late teens. So we're looking at those showers continuing through the day. As time goes on, Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of Wales may be seeing clearer skies. And this is where we'll see quite a chilly evening, chilly night as well. And then tomorrow is going to be a very similar day. We'll probably see more in the way of sunshine, fewer showers around, but it won't actually be much warmer.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Joe, thank you. In just a couple of minutes, Jamie's going to have all the sport. What would be, Jamie, the best word to describe this weekend of sport, do you think?
Blockbuster.
Fabulous.
Like
fabulous. Love it.
That a good one? OK.
Yeah.
Well, it's a blockbuster weekend of sport coming up. It says it in my auto cue as well, which includes Formula One's Hungarian Grand Prix, the second test between the Lions and South Africa, and the start of the Scottish Premiership season. Plus, we'll show you how England batsman James Vince inspired the Southern Brave to a first victory in the 100 on a thrilling night of action. And we have a big update this morning on Manchester City's £100 million bid for Aston Villa captain Jack Grealish. We'll bring you that very shortly indeed.
I'm Tom Cheshire, and I'm Sky's Asia correspondent, based here in Beijing. We help you understand the world with us.
he's got all the sport for us this morning. He's being very antagonistic, aren't you?
Yeah, that's another word to describe the sport. Everyone's at each other's throats. Come on, people, let's just love each other.
This sports bulletin is brought to you by Vitality, committed to getting 100 million people 20% more active by 2025.
At the age of 6, I had meningitis, septicemia, and they said I'd never walk again. My Achilles in my left leg shrunk, so that meant that sort of my knees weren't in line with my hips, so they said that I'd constantly have problems with that. A year and a half later, I started going outside. I was back walking, running, and then I got signed for QPR, age 8. So, yeah, it's a miracle really that I was being able to walk and run again.
How did you go from, struggling to walk to being able to run around and be able to play with the kids? But the kids were really good at football.
Both my legs were in plaster for about 6 months. I was in a wheelchair. I can't remember exactly how I started walking again, but I used to have to wear like night splints, so my legs were constantly in splints to help me walk. Mentally, when I come out of hospital, I was like a different child. My mum said it wasn't the same child that went into hospital. I had brain damage from it, and I was on life support for 6 days. I've got obviously ADHD, I was diagnosed, OCD, personality disorder. I've got a few things. So that, as well as sort of playing football, was a massive sort of risk. I was lonely. I felt like at a very lonely place with this injury now. Beforehand, I was constantly on a high. I always thought I will get through whatever I go through, and that's the way I do see it, because I do. Whatever I go through, I do get through eventually. And it sort of proved that I do. But I'm driven to really do well, and I don't want to let myself down. My last game I played was on the 20th of January 2020. I've started to feel really unwell, and I felt like my throat was swelling. I remember going to bed and waking up, and I thought I was dying. I remember sitting there on the end of the bed and sort of saying, sorry.
It's okay.
I remember saying to the nurse, like, my mental health was bad and this has really, really topped it off. And she got sort of a woman to come round and speak to me. And the woman, I know she was trying to help. She was saying, doesn't matter about football, like you can take another journey. And I remember sitting there thinking, another journey? I've worked so hard for this, and it's not about taking another journey. This is something I love, and it's been taken away from me. So being on crutches and not being able to move around, not being able to feel my leg, I honestly thought it was the end of the world. I can now only feel the inside and the back and the front. I still can't feel the whole outside of my leg. And they said that probably won't repair. But I think the scary part now is I might not play competitively. I might not. But in my head, I feel like I know I will. Bees were brilliant with me. They kept me going.
Yes!
Especially Lee, Sean, all the staff here. And I felt so involved. I remember ringing the crisis team, and I said, like, I hate my life. Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't want to be.
Committed to getting 100 million people 20% more active by 2025.
Well, still to come for you. Trying to handle the heat with this year's Olympics looking like it may be the warmest on record. How do the athletes cope with the temperatures?
Good morning and welcome back to Sky News Breakfast. It's a big day in rugby as the British and Irish Lions look to secure their first series win against South Africa in over 2 decades. The Lions will head into action in Cape Town this afternoon, buoyed by that spectacular second-half comeback in the first test last Saturday, which leaves them 1-0 up in the 3-test match series. And I'm delighted to say we can now cross to my hometown, Belfast, and speak to Tommy Bowe, who played in this very fixture back in 2009, was also part of the Lions' last successful series win in Australia 8 years ago. Tommy, thanks for speaking to us this morning. You know just how much rugby is a religion in South Africa and how much the Springboks will be hurting after that first test defeat. There's going to be a backlash this afternoon, isn't there?
Yeah, you mentioned how we have a blockbuster of sport today, a blockbuster at 5 o'clock in Cape Town. The Lions, of course, 1-0 up in the series, but boy, the South Africans are hurting. The talk of Rassie Erasmus releasing an hour-long criticism of the rugby referees. It is unheard of in rugby circles, normally a sport known for respecting the officials. Some say he's crossed the line, but others might say that it is just a perfect example of trying to distract the attention away from the South African team. Let them concentrate on the game. But boy, I'm expecting a huge backlash from the South Africans. It's just whether the Lions can hold on and really just withhold that pressure, because they're going to have to go toe-to-toe to the South Africans. It's not going to be easy, but I feel that the South Africans' lungs, will they be able to hold out for the full 80 minutes?
And Tommy, you mentioned that Rassie Erasmus video. I mean, it's truly bizarre. For people that don't know, 63-minute video uploaded to Twitter during the week where he basically criticised all the referees' decisions. And he said that his captain, Siya Kolisi, wasn't showing the same respect that Alan Wynne-Jones was. And Siya Kolisi saying yesterday that, yes, he felt as if he couldn't approach the referee in the same way as Alan Wynne could. I mean, it's all very unedifying, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't be a big fan of it. I think what's Rassie Erasmus, I have huge respect for him, what he has done for a coach for South Africa. Pretty much in a year and a half, he took them from the doldrums to being world champions. They are a superpower of world rugby, but he has distracted a lot of the attention. It's almost been comical, some of the stuff that he's been doing. He's the director, the South African director of rugby, and he's running onto the pitch as a water boy without even holding a bottle of water. I mean, it was quite laughable. If you saw Eddie Jones doing it for England, people would really be scratching their heads. But for Rassie Erasmus, nothing is unusual until this 63-minute video criticising the rugby referees has come up. So it's been a crazy old week. The talking has been done. It's all about kickoff at 5 o'clock. Two superpowers going head-to-head with each other. And the South Africans, as a country, as a nation, they really need to win this match to go 1-1 in the series.
Tommy, we can see proudly over your left shoulder there your two Lions jerseys from that series win in Australia back in 2013, but also from the last time the Lions toured South Africa in 2009. And the second test in particular, as we have this afternoon, was a brutal game. I think we can see the opening try from that match now. The Lions got off to a great start. Rob Kearney with the opening try. You were there on Rob Kearney's right shoulder, screaming for the ball, and he completely ignored you. But it was a great start for the Lions in that test match, and then just a brutal game of rugby.
Yeah, I pretty much made a whole career of being outside Rob Kearney and him never passing to me. But yeah, listen, that was the perfect start. We got off to an incredible start in that second test. We were the team under pressure that day. We were 1-0 down in the series. And really, the way this could come down to is a rugby refereeing decision. It's really interesting because in that game, in 30 seconds into the match, Schalkberger, the South African back rower, clearly eye-gouged Luke Fitzgerald, and it should have been a red card. He only got a yellow card for it, and the South Africans went on to win that game with a last-minute kick. I would imagine this match, the focus is going to be 100% on the referees, and with the physicality that we're expecting from both sides, I would not be surprised if it comes down to a yellow or a red card at some stage in this match, because both teams are fully fired up for it. And yes, you mentioned that game in 2009. It's right behind me here. That was one of the most physically demanding matches I have ever been a part of. I think it'll go down as one of the most physical, confrontational matches in rugby history. And of course, watching now, it breaks my heart to see Morné Steyn kicking that ball over literally 25-all, last play of the game, and that meant South Africa won the series. Hopefully, we won't see the South Africans getting that same result today.
Well, Tommy, it breaks my heart too. I was there as a fan in Pretoria in 2009. I think I cried all the way in the walk back in to have a few beers in the centre of Pretoria that night. The match this evening, though, where will it be won and lost? Because you said it was hugely physical in the first test as well. Mara Itoje was immense. Courtney Laws was immense. But do you think the half-back partnership is key to victory this afternoon?
Yeah, really interesting. Warren Gatlin's made 3 selections from the first test. Mako Vunipola comes in to start on the loose head in the scrum, which is not a strong point of his game. And he's going to be going up against Mal Herbe for South Africa, who they've drafted in, who's probably one of the best scrummagers in World Rugby. So the South Africans are going to try and get an edge on in the scrum. They're going to try and get an edge on up front. But really interestingly as well, Warren Gatland has brought Conor Murray, the Irishman, in at scrum half, who wouldn't be as zippy around the park. He wouldn't be as quick as getting the ball away as Ali Price from last weekend. But what he does have is a huge amount of experience. He's a brilliant kicker of the ball. And I would expect him and Dan Biggar at 9 and 10 to just keep putting the ball into the corners, keep putting the ball behind the South Africans and force them to run it out from deep. Because the South Africans, they don't have a lot of test match rugby under their belt. They will be hurting come the 60, 70 minutes of the game. So if the Springboks are not in a comfortable lead at that stage, I can see the Lions coming away with a victory.
Tommy, it should be a thrilling afternoon once again. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Heartbreak for Tommy and his teammates back in 2009 in South Africa, but we could just be a few hours away from a famous Lions series victory.
Jamie, thank you. Keep your fingers crossed. Now, the athletes in Tokyo aren't just competing against each other, they also have to contend with Mother Nature. The experts predict this could be the hottest Olympics ever, with some events taking place in temperatures of 34 Celsius. Tom Parmenter reports from Tokyo.
It is sweltering, and every outdoor sport is feeling it. We've had athletes collapsing, and some events moved away from the middle of the day.
We got here, it was a bit of a shock, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, slowly getting used to it.
At home we were in greenhouses, hot pods, just getting a sweat on with layers as well, face masks, training face masks. So as soon as we got here, it definitely felt like that.
As much as the heat, the humidity is sapping their strength. It is punishing out there, and each of them have to carefully manage it, so there's more drinks, more breaks. They could easily overcook themselves. This was Johnny Brownlee's preparation chamber in his conservatory in Yorkshire. Yes, that is sweat. But when it's for real, there is no escape. It's not an unusually hot summer in Tokyo, but researchers here have calculated that the average temperature has increased faster here than in other parts of the world, up 3 degrees over the past century. Now with the athletics underway, the middle and long distance runners have to find their climate control.
It's just so much harder, stress on the body, on the heart rate, everything is just more increased. And it's actually just the perception of not being able to cool down as well, which is quite difficult to. So not only is it physically, I think mentally sometimes you need to be, I suppose, reassured that you're not just going to implode.
The hot rain that sometimes drops in doesn't clear the humidity. We're on the 28th floor and you can't see any of Tokyo now. And then it clears again. The Midsummer Games here are tough, but the heat is just one of the many challenges. Tom Parmenter, Sky News, Tokyo.
Charities have raised concerns over what they describe as shocking conditions found at facilities for young asylum seekers who've arrived in England after crossing the Channel. The group say provisions for babies and children are completely unsuitable. They've called on the Education Department to take responsibility over from the Home Office. Mark White reports.
Private security guards are now on patrol outside this Kent hotel, one of a number of facilities where rooms have been block booked to accommodate the surge in asylum seekers who've arrived by small boats in recent weeks. Of much more concern is the fact that many of the asylum seekers here are children, like this group of teenagers. Hello there. Hiya, does anyone speak English? No, we're from Sky News. Are you Arabs? Yeah. Where are you from? Within seconds, this Home Office minder appears, asking us not to film the group. But you're looking after them quite well, are you?
Indeed, as well as we can with everything we've got. They don't ask for anything.
Well, understandably, here at the hotel, they don't really want to speak to us, but we understand that about half of the 40-plus refugees who are at this hotel are aged under 16. And that's of deep concern to dozens of charities who say that such accommodation is completely unsuitable for children. They're calling on the Education Secretary to take over responsibility from the Home Office for the management of unaccompanied minors.
We used to have something called the National Transfer Scheme, and that was a way of distributing these incredible young people around the country. It's not being funded properly, so it's broken down, but there are still councils ready and willing to take these young people. We saw this happen last year, and we didn't want it to happen this year. We warned against it. We're in the same position. It's starting to look like deliberate cruelty.
Kent County Council declared last month it had run out of capacity to look after child migrants. Around 120 children have arrived this month alone. These helicopter images show the scale of the problem facing authorities. Just some of the hundreds of small boats seized by Border Force in the Channel over the past year. Well, this is a rare day with no small boat crossings. That's understandable. It's blowing in gale here. It's far worse out in the Channel. But authorities know as soon as conditions improve again, the small boats will be back en masse. The Home Office says it's made more than £20 million available to help ensure child asylum seekers can be placed into local authority care across the country. The department is now appealing to more councils to come forward and agree to take their share of those arriving in the Channel. Mark White, Sky News, Kent.
Oh, this is Sky News Breakfast. Let's have a look at the weather for you today with Joe.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Hello there, good morning to you. Well, yesterday, of course, we had our fourth ever named summer storm, Avert, which brought some strong winds, rain and showers to the country. Now, that's moving off into the North Sea, disappearing off towards Denmark, but it has left us with this rather cool, showery regime. And so what we'll see today is a lot of cloud to start off with. It's not particularly warm, temperatures in single figures over parts of Scotland. And then as the day wears on, we'll find these pockets of showery rain around, and where we see any breaks in the clouds, some brightness, some sunshine, and temperatures start to rise, well, that will spark showers too. And those showers likely to be heavy, potentially thundery as well, through central, southern, southeastern areas. Our temperatures not particularly good, mid to late teens over northern parts. Down towards the south, we might squeeze of 21 or 22, that's 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The winds much lighter than they were, easing from the west.
Just seen, it's been a
North Sea
great day
coast
for BMX.
could stay rather breezy. Later in the day, we see some drier, clearer weather across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, but those will translate overnight into clear spells, which will give another cold night with temperatures in single figures. And then for tomorrow, we're really looking at more of the same. There will be quite a lot of cloud around, hopefully more in the way of sunshine and fewer showers, but we don't see much of an improvement in temperatures, partly down to that northerly flow. So we're still looking at the mid to high teens for most, 21 or 22. Monday and Tuesday looking quiet, but Wednesday and Thursday look like being wet and windy as yet another area of low pressure starts to spread in from the Atlantic. And then things look to settle down in the middle of the month.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Joe, thank you. Still to come for you this morning. More on the news that Ben Stokes is taking a break from cricket to focus on his mental health.
So I just really grew up in this aviation family, and so flying really just was a natural thing for me. So I've been flying for my whole life, and so decided to get on a sudden adventure. I just thought, you know, I'm taking a gap year, I've got some spare time, why not do something crazy and change my life a bit? This week already I've done about 40 hours of flying, so preparation has been pretty crazy, and especially for safety I need to make sure that I'm as safe as possible. So I'll be going west from Belgium, and that will bring me through Greenland and places like Alaska and South America, which is near the equator, where the weather can be a bit iffy. So I need to make sure that I'm as prepared as I can be, especially for the really tall mountains in Alaska and Greenland, as well as sometimes dodgy weather in South America and near South Asia. Aviation, you never really know, especially weather-wise. But I've been really lucky that many people have offered to help and let me stay at their home places. But I'm really looking forward to meeting so many new people and all the different cultures. Is the unexpected. So things always come up. You never know what it's going to be. Could be weather. It could be just technical things with the plane. Or luckily I've got a great plane right behind me. But yeah, I'm afraid of the unexpected, but also excited for that. So it goes both ways.
Now, the England cricketer Ben Stokes is taking an indefinite break from cricket to prioritise his mental health. He's pulled out of the India Test series, which starts next week. The decision comes as gymnast Simone Biles chose to withdraw from the Olympics, sparking a discussion about mental well-being in sport. Let's talk to Alistair Campbell, who, amongst many other things, is a mental health campaigner. Look, it's good to see you this morning, Alistair. What do you make of the fact that we are now seeing more and more sports people not only talking about their mental health, but saying, do you know what, I need to take a break?
Well, what I make of it is that sport is taking a lead in the fight, if you like, for better understanding. And we're talking about individuals here. I don't know Ben Stokes. I don't know his personal circumstances. I don't know what's led him to the decision that he's made. And the same for Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka. But what I do know is that when you're at that level of sport, it's so much is about the mind. And when you're talking about the really great players, and Ben Stokes is one of the best players in the world at the moment, then I don't think we should be surprised that sometimes the psychological pressures become really, really strong. And look, the campaign that I'm involved in, and actually Marcus Trescothick, another cricketer, one of the first to talk about his own struggles with depression, he was a big part of the start of the Time to Change campaign, which unfortunately, in their wisdom, the current government has stopped funding. But that campaign is about trying to get parity between physical and mental health. Well, I think when the elite sport starts to talk so openly about their mental health, when what they do is primarily physical, if you like, then I think that is really, really good news for the campaign that I'm engaged in, whilst obviously very sad for the individuals involved.
I mean, it's interesting that one of the things which seems to be coming to the fore here is the amount of pressure piled on people like Ben Stokes as they work through the pandemic, but in these sort of bubbles and being kept away from family and friends. I mean, you've worked, in your career in some high-intensity environments, often as a result of the long hours and everything else, isolated from friends and family. I mean, do you think there is questions to be answered about the way we've kept sports people working in this sort of isolated way?
Look, I think on balance, I can't speak for any of them, let alone all of them, but I imagine that most of them would be preferred to be doing elite sport than not to be doing it. And you're talking about, Ben Stokes, we'll obviously be talking about that today. There have been plenty other examples in the past of people in cricket. And I think cricket is really interesting in this because they're performing pretty much every day. they're now doing all these different formats. They're traveling an awful lot. They're staying in hotels. I can't imagine the whole bubble and the COVID experience has helped. And yet, on the other hand, you watch a lot of the interviews of people at the Olympics at the moment, and despite the Olympics being so defined by COVID, not least the fact no spectators, etc., they are in the main so happy to be there, so happy to be doing it. But I think we just have to accept that, you know, we all have to understand that we have a body and we have a mind. Both have limits. Now, most of us, we reach our bodily limits fairly early on, and most of us will never become elite athletes. Once they become elite athletes, I think the mind becomes even more important. And therefore, I don't think we should be at all surprised that, you know, some very high profile people come out and say, do you know what, I'm really struggling. And I think the more that we understand it's okay to say you're struggling, and then we don't have this ridiculous debate that some people want to have to say, oh, they're doing it because they, you know, they think they're going to lose. They're doing it because they're spoiled. They're doing it because they're pampered. They're doing it because they're human beings operating at a level that very few people get to operate at.
OK, well, just in a word, Alistair, should there be more investment in protecting sports people's mental health? We've only got 10 seconds or so.
Well, I think actually cricket is pretty good at this. But in short, you want a short answer, the answer is yes. But even more important, we invest in the mental health and well-being of all of our people across society.
OK. Alistair, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Well, stay with us here on Sky News Breakfast. Still to come, more reaction to the gold medals for Team GB on what is turning out to be a real Super Saturday.
Hello, this is Sky News. I'm Nick Qureshi. These are the headlines at 10 o'clock.